back there in the AB booth. He's the guy who called me 2.5 years ago when I announced we were going to be starting a chapter here. He said, I think I may have a venue for you. A lot of our coordinators spend weeks, sometimes months, finding a venue. This one fell right in my lap. I couldn't be more blessed. Okay. Now, got a little bit of housekeeping stuff to get out of the way, and then we're going to turn the floor over to Dr. Mark Sherwood. But first off, Dave White, who actually, he was the first K County OK2A coordinator some years ago. He's very active with the GOP. He's a good guy, and he's got something he wants to talk about briefly.
And I told Terry I'd keep this under 2 minutes. Any of you members of the Cherokee Strip Credit Union? A few. It's worth talking about then. You probably know they've got a no carry policy and signs on the door. I tried to get a board member, and he's brought it up at the meetings to change that so that at least you could have concealed carry in there. They could have a sign that says no, but they won't change your policy. They've got a new president and CEO there now. His name is Spike Henderson. Some of you might know him. I don't know him. But
Mike.
Microphone. Oh, could everybody hear me? I figured you could. Anyway, I sent him a nice email telling him I've been a member of that credit union since the early 70s, and I feel like I'm going to lose an old friend, but I'm moving my accounts to another bank mainly because I can't carry when I go in that lobby, and I don't do it often, but it irritates me when I do. And so if you there's his email address and his name. Send him an email, nice, be polite, don't be threatening for sure, and ask him if they'll change their policy. I'm not saying you have to quit the credit union like I've told him I'm doing, but ask them in a nice way if they'll change their policy so that at least you can carry concealed in that place. And that's all I had. So I hope I'm under 2, Terry. Yeah. Thank you.
Touch that in the back.
I'll get it.
All right. Now, I've got an announcement. Those of you that are on Facebook have probably seen it already. Joe, come on up. Everybody that's come to my meetings knows Joe because he's the biggest guy in the room. He's also the mouthiest guy in the room next to me. Joe has consented to be our co-coordinator here in, huh? Yeah, I almost made an obscene gesture there.
In frame.
Joe's going to be co-coordinating, so if I get lazy or if I'm down sick or if I fall over dead, since I'm an old man, everything will continue. I'm going to let him speak for a few minutes to introduce himself, and then we'll continue on.
Okay, well, most of you guys know me. My name is Joe Vaden. I am 46 years old, born and raised right here in Ponca City at St. Joseph's Regional Medical Center when it was still named that. Married, 4 kids, 3 girls, 1 boy. That's really about it. Real quick, though, I'm going to bring this up now instead of at the end. Yeah. Show of hands, without singing out loud, who knows when the primary election is? That's sad. June 28th. Get your phone out, put it in your calendar, put a reminder, go tell at least 5 people when the primary election is so that we can get someone like Dr. Sherwood elected. I'd appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I want to personally thank Joe for stepping up here. It's kind of funny. I oversee all the chapters west of I-35, and I encourage these outside coordinators, bring 1 or 2 guys in to help carry the load. And I've been doing it 2.5 years here, and I've been doing the whole thing. So I finally listened to my own advice, which my little sister will tell you right now, is a rare event. Okay. Now, just a little bit. I've got a new slogan for OK2A. This is kind of like the poem I wrote. This is something that came out of my fertile imagination. We are not gun nuts, we're liberty nuts. A lot of people, they hear Second Amendment Association and they think all we're concerned with is guns. That is not the case. We're concerned with the entire Constitution and all of our God-given rights. Now, we concentrate on the Second Amendment because without that, the rest of the Constitution is nothing but paper. And we hope to God it never gets to that point, but if it does, we want to make sure we're armed. They don't have guns in Canada, and look how they stepped all over them truckers up there. Seized their bank accounts. The trucks that they seized and hauled off, a lot of them truckers travel with their dog. The trucks they hauled off that had dogs in them, those a-holes up there killed the dogs. Think of that. That's how evil these people are. Okay. Now, in the last month, I've been busy. I brought in 3 new chapters: Garvin County, Harper-Beaver combined counties, and Woodward counties. This is our new chapter map. The reason for the different colors, the green ones are individual county chapters. The colored ones are either combined counties, which is 2 counties together, or divisions, Southern Division, Southwestern Division, and so forth. A month ago, we didn't have anything up in northwestern Oklahoma. Now I need 3 counties up there, and I've got the whole northwest corner of the state covered. Now, let's see. I'm going to do a real quick, because we've got a great speaker here today, and I know y'all came to hear him, not me, but you got to listen to me. So, these legislative updates are really not critically important until we get into the last several weeks of the session, because things are so much in flux. These bills get introduced. You read the bill the first when it's first introduced. If it passes, you read it a month later after it's passed, and you'd swear they're not the same bill. They get altered and changed and so forth. Okay, HB 3074. This is boat carry. It is not legal to carry a gun on your boat in Oklahoma unless you have an SDA license or you're hunting. It's crazy. This bill would make it the same as it is if you're driving your car or truck around. This bill, HB means it's a House bill. This bill has passed everything in the House, and it's now to the Senate. So other than the governor's signature, it's about halfway through the legislative process right now. HB 3144, this is to prevent discrimination against firearms businesses and associates. For instance, PayPal. You cannot buy anything related to guns, ammo, or anything and charge it to PayPal now. And there are banks that are cutting off gun stores and so forth, not letting their credit cards be used there. This would make this illegal in Oklahoma. This is on the floor in the House. Okay, HB 4138. This is to carry at the Oklahoma State Fair and the Tulsa State Fair. Now, this bill was not heard. There was some kind of administrative glitch going on, but there is another avenue. Those of you that saw Don's video last night, you already know this, but what they're going to do is insert this into another bill. and that will get it back into the system and perhaps passed. Now, this may get changed. Don wasn't sure. The governor came up to Don Friday at the Capitol and asked him when we were going to have Capitol carry. In other words, you'd be able to walk into the state capitol, open or concealed carry. They have it in Texas and Kansas. A bunch of states have this. You have to go through a metal detector to get into our capitol. So I don't know exactly how that might work, but that's going to be, that might get substituted in place of the fair. Legislation is wheeling and dealing, folks. You got to bring enough votes in to get it passed. So sometimes you got to give away something you don't want to give away to get somebody's vote. By the way, this bill was authored by our good friend and our A++ graded legislator, Mr. Sean Roberts, who is currently actively running to replace Frank Lucas. Anybody in here would like to see Frank Lucas replaced? Another great guy, Senator Hamilton, was the author in the Senate. SB means Senate bill. HB means House bill. Senate bill is a partial restoration of firearm rights. This is past the Senate and it's to the House. So again, it's about halfway through the legislative process. What this does, this would allow a nonviolent offender, a nonviolent felon offender that's been clean, absolutely clean for 5 years, they would get a partial restoration of their Second Amendment rights. Now, what this means is they could not own a semi-automatic handgun or rifle. So no AR-15s, no Glocks, but they could have a revolver, pump shotgun, bolt-action rifle. Let me tell you, folks, a lot of these people, they're 70 years old now, and when they were 18, they got busted with some pot. And in a lot of places, it was a felony. In fact, I lived in Dallas in the late 60s. The cops, but there was a guy there run one of the underground newspapers. You know, the type I'm talking, the hippie newspaper in Dallas. They had to vacuum his car. They found one marijuana seed. The guy got sentenced to life in prison. Yeah, this is in the late 60s. Anyway, they have to be a nonviolent offender, but this seems to me a fair thing. Those folks can't defend their house, their family. They can't go duck or deer hunting. Well, I guess they could if they wanted a bow. I don't even know if they can own a bow, to tell you the truth. But anyway, so this is about halfway home. And that was the House author on that was our friend Sean Roberts. Remember that name? On June 28th. He's the guy to vote for. Okay. SB 1118, this is to some language cleanup on the Self-Defense Act, your concealed carry. Right now, it states either revolver, derringer, or semi-automatic. This would replace all of those with pistol. So you take your SDA test, doesn't matter what kind of handgun you're using, you could take it with a revolver and then carry a semi-automatic without any question. Again, just a language cleanup. And this is another one of our heroes in the Senate, is Senator Bergstrom. Okay. Senate Bill 1366. This is Senator Paxton. He's the one that said Don Spencer should resign as president. Not my favorite. Anyway, this bill is another language cleanup in the SDA. It specifies that if you're carrying a gun, it needs to be up. The muzzle needs to be pointed up or down. In other words, if you're walking around in a low ready position, there's no way you can do that without the muzzle sweeping people. And we don't want, that is one of the basic rules of gun safety. So this, again, just a language alteration there. Okay, we have SJR 27. SJR means Senate Joint Resolution. These bills, if they pass the House and the Senate, both houses, they do not go to the governor's desk. They go on the next ballot. This is what happened with the, did y'all know that we have marijuana in Oklahoma now? Okay, this is what happened with the marijuana thing. This has passed, this is to amend our Constitution. Only U.S. citizens can vote in Oklahoma. That sounds racist to me. Oh, citizens. That's unfair. Yeah. This has passed the Senate, and this is our buddy Senator Bergstrom again, and again, Sean Roberts. It's funny how his name keeps popping up, huh? So this again is about halfway home. And another one, SJR 48. This is a constitutional amendment to require proof of identity for all voting methods. There's some more racism. This has also passed the Senate, so it's halfway there. So if you get a text alert, by the way, can everybody see the screen up here behind me? If you're not on our text alerts, get your phone out right now while the directions are up there and sign up for our text alerts. Don Spencer sends these out. You won't get bombarded, and you're not going to try to be sold anything. This is to notify you. You need to call Bill Coleman, Ken Luttrell, John Pfeiffer, whoever our representatives are, or senators, or the governor, and tell them you want this bill to pass or this bill to fail. We not only have gotten almost 150 bills, gun-friendly, liberty-friendly bills through the legislature in our history, but we've had probably at least that many bad bills that we've gotten killed. And that is as important as getting the good bills passed. Now, as I mentioned, Governor Stitt talked to Don specifically about capital carry, and Don said, well, as soon as we can get it to your desk, and the governor told him, quote, if it gets on my desk, I will sign it. So that's a good thing. Now, we have 7 bills on the way to the Senate, and most of them, maybe all of them, are going to go to the Public Safety Committee. Who in here knows who Bill Coleman is? Okay, good. If you don't know, you need to know. He is our senator for all of Kay County, and he's out, I think he's got about half of Bartlesville. Big chunk of Osage County. He might be the guy you'll be getting texts about to call. I know him very well. In fact, he was at a legislative breakfast yesterday in Toccowa. He's a good guy, but sometimes he needs to get nudged, like most politicians. So we also have a Patient's Bill of Rights. This is Senator Bergstrom again. And what this is for, this is to make a law to make sure that loved ones can visit people in the hospital. We have had elderly people and not elderly people die in the hospital, and the hospital won't let you got an 86-year-old grandmother, and you got to tell her goodbye and pray with her on an iPhone. That is outrageous. And this would end that. Also, again, Senator Bergstrom, a birth certificate bill. This has passed the Senate, that there can only be a boy or a girl marked on a birth certificate. Yeah. Isn't it funny, folks? They accuse us of not following the science. Yeah, think of that. I don't care how much cosmetic surgery you or she or he might get done. Your chromosomes are either XX or XY. You can't change that. That's how the Lord made it. So these people they're the nuts. Okay. Let's see. Anybody in here interested in suppressors? Okay. House Bill 2982. was in the House. It's out of the House and it's to the Senate. So again, that's about halfway there. HB 3069, municipalities can authorize concealed carry for employees. This is out of the House, and it'll be in the committees in the Senate. It has to pass committees, then the Senate floor, and then to the governors. Let's see. HB 3046, this is out of the House and into the Senate committees. Prohibit private funding in Elections Act. HB 3365, voter registration cleanup. That's to get there's some more racism, I guess. It's to get the dead people off the voting rolls. Does anybody in here know what an air bow is? Yeah. I got the question answered Thursday night. It shoots bolts, but it uses compressed air to do it. I'd never heard of them, but there's a bill that's out of the Senate and into the House to allow that for hunting as long as regular bows are allowed. Now, bills that have cleared committees in both houses and are on the floor of the opposite chamber. House Bill 1662, burden of proof. Folks, this is a big one. This will help prevent DAs from doing malicious prosecutions. In other words, you're involved in a righteous self-defense act. The DA files murder charges against you. You got to make bail. You got to hire attorneys at $300 or $400 an hour. And then the morning of your trial, the DA dismisses the charges, but you're $100,000 in debt. And this is to prevent that. That's in the Senate now, on the floor of the Senate. It's past the committees. Senate Bill 560, unlawful blocking of roadways. I think we all know what that is. That has cleared the committees in the House and is on the floor of the House. And then SB 730, carrying your personal vehicle while you're working. They would kind of call this the Uber bill. This would prevent your employers from telling you, if you're using your vehicle for their work, this would prevent them from telling you you can't have your gun in your own car. This wouldn't apply to company vehicles, but it would apply to your own car. Two more. Thank God. Bills passed both, and now this is on the governor's desk now. Senate Bill 2, protecting women's sports. Okay, I see everybody nodding. You know what that means. That's to keep these guys with the XY chromosomes from competing with the XX chromosomes. This has passed both houses. It's on the governor's desk. I can't imagine he will not sign this, but you never know in politics. And then our Private Property Protection Act. This is a biggie, folks. Among other things, this moves your castle doctrine from the walls of your house to the edges of your property. Now, that doesn't mean you can get a high-powered rifle out and shoot a guy that's 800 yards away out, just stepped onto your South 40. There has to be some kind of threat involved, but having that castle doctrine moved, this is a big, big deal. Okay. If anybody wants to see the bills that are dead, I've got it here. You come up and you can take a picture of it after the meeting. I've covered my map. Let me check here. Looks like it's time for Dr. Mark Sherwood. Yeah. I've been blessed to meet and share the podium with the doctor a couple of times now. I've been very, very impressed. And are you going to introduce your lovely wife?
You know it.
Okay, good. I won't do it then. It's all yours,
Thank you,
boss.
sir. I
Take
appreciate
care.
you.
Thank you.
Well, good afternoon to everybody. Thank you for being here, first of all. I appreciate you all very much. You could have been anywhere else, but you chose to be right here with us today. So I want to welcome you, Pastor Jack. Thank you so much for allowing us to use your church. And Thank you so much for honoring God today. And with that said, as I stand before every group, the first thing you need to know about myself is that I profess openly Jesus Christ as my Lord and Savior. I'm not going to back away from that. That's important. So having said that, it is important to understand that even with the First Amendment, it's not about, quote unquote, pushing religion on people. That's not the point. The founding fathers, specifically Thomas Jefferson, talked about this idea of separation between church and state. And what he said was, and what he intended to mean was, so we'll all understand, is that the government should stay out of the church, but the church should not stay out of government. So we need to understand that. Whether you believe in God or not, how many understand that his principles work, right? That's important to understand. So we need godly leadership within government and really everywhere else involving our society, don't we? And so those principles work, and we need to bring those principles back to the state of Oklahoma so we can be blessed based upon God's promises. Secondly, I want to acknowledge my best friend, my queen, my pal, my co-CEO. She is more men than just my spare rib. She's my perfectly glazed, braised prime rib. That's my wife, Dr. Michelle. And I want to welcome our Facebook Live audience. We stream these meetings, so thank you all for tuning in. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention our campaign team, right? The campaign team is super important to us. Back in the back, you see Joshua back there. No, Leah is, no, we have men and women in this room. Thank you, right? Leah's back there, Isaac, and where's Hannah? Right there. Okay, so this is part of our team. They work tirelessly, selflessly to be at these events, and I just really appreciate them because you can't do this fight of freedom without a team. How many know that freedom is not a spectator sport? It is a participatory war we're in, and our rights are being eroded away one step at a time. And I, for one, am tired of it. We need to begin to have the mindset to take back, not ask for permission to get back, but to take back that which was taken from us. Our founding fathers saw this coming a long, long time ago. We're at that 1775 going into 1776 moment. March 20th, 1775, one of the most famous lines given in our time was from Patrick Henry. It was about 247 years ago, just a few days ago. We must never forget these lines. He said, "Give me liberty or give me death." What was liberty? That was the freedom to come here like this and do what you want, say what you want, when you want, how you want, dress as you want, worship as you want. And folks, we saw that eroded away over the last couple of years specifically. But I submit to you, it's not just the last couple of years, but it's been happening for many, many years. We have allowed the government to get bigger and the people to get smaller. We must begin to understand that tyranny, we use that word a lot, tyranny is when the people fear the government. Talking state government, county government, city government, and even national government. On the flip side, freedom is when the government fears the people. And it's all about standing up for our rights and standing up for our liberties that we see that many of us in this room fought and sacrificed for. And those that are not here fought and died for. When I look at the cemetery in Arlington, I've been there. I look at all those white tombstones perfectly lined up. Think of all the lives, all the people, all the families that have sacrificed for us to be here right now. And to think that government believes that they can take that away from us? Not on our watch. We, the people, must stand up. Now, I stand before you completely full of humility and honor because I am part of the people. I am not and will not ever become a politician. I can promise you this right now, contrary to what we see right now in our current administration. After election and after inauguration, I don't become unreachable. I don't become unteachable. And I don't become a person that you can't talk to anymore. That flat out, friends, is wrong. We must never get to the point where we think we're untouchable. Because when we do, we find the temptation of power, fame, and money gets a hold of us, and it can ruin you. All of us in this room, and all of us in the sound of my voice and online, understand the idea that power, fame, and money is a temptation. We must never let that take charge of us. Ever. Because when we do, we lose touch with reality. We let ego come in. Ego, get this, edging God out. Hope you remember that. It's important because we must never edge God out and make mankind more comfortable and more important than that. Because what we saw in the last couple of years specifically is the idea of trust in the science. And it was not science the way God gave it. It's called political science. Oh, I trust God's science, all right. He made males and he made females in his own image. Case in point, my wife and I have been fighting against this idea of medical tyranny for about 10 years. I'm a trained naturopathic doctor. My wife is an osteopath and a naturopath. We fought hard for the last 10 years against this idea of medical tyranny. What is medical tyranny? It says that we, the doctors, tell you what you're going to do with your health. Last I checked, you can choose or not to choose to put an aspirin in your mouth. It is your choice. Medicine should not be first-line therapy. Prayer should be first-line therapy. We started a business with the idea that God made mankind. Therefore, God made the immune system. And we believe that if you give the body what it was supposed to have, it could fight and it could win. Imagine what our colleagues thought. They thought we had lost our ever-loving minds. Because how can you go against that science and those pharmaceutical drugs? You have to trust those. Aren't they first-line therapy? The answer was no. And we stepped up and stood up and fought against that. And despite everybody's admonition that we should not do that, we pressed on. Oh, we were put to the test in March of 2020, like many of us were. But folks, we didn't back down because when I saw the leadership that frankly was in charge of our country at that time pathetically stand before you and I and talk about fear. Government talked about fear. Medical people talked about fear. Church people talked about fear. Where was faith in all that? And I waited patiently, ladies and gentlemen, for someone to step up in front of a microphone that had some sort of spine and some sort of awareness of God and say, ladies and gentlemen, I don't know what we're dealing with. I don't know really who we're dealing with. Don't have all the answers, but God does. And we're a people that's not going to walk around and be driven by fear, but we're going to be walking in faith. And we're going to stand firm together, and we're going to figure this thing out. How many's with me in that? How many wish that would have occurred? It did not occur. And I got to tell you, that went right through me. And my wife and I began to stand more firm. I'm not following your rules, government. I don't care what you say, federal government. I begin to understand that the 10th Amendment gave us states sovereignty. I began to look at the Constitution and realize that our leaders didn't even know the Constitution. They swore to uphold and protect. And it broke my heart. And I'm going to give you just a few reasons today on why I just made that statement. And I'm going to give specific examples to where our current administration does not and did not follow the Constitution of the United States of America and tell you what I would have done and will do different. It's fair, right? You need to know where we stand. And obviously, I want you to understand that all of our promises that we make and all of our campaign stances are found live and in color for you to see. Because I believe in integrity. I believe when you make a promise, you ought to keep it. And I believe every one of these politicians need to become statesmen yesterday and stateswomen. And when you make a promise, you need to make it public. Our app, Sherwood 2022, is right here. And you can download that app for free. It's awesome, but it's got all of our promises on here. It's got all of our issues here. And how many think that we need to have all people running for office put their issues out there publicly? We need to do that. For if we don't, as Terry was saying, politicians change their mind. Let me just phrase it another way. Politicians lie. I have learned a lot about politics, learned a new way to define it. Poly, many, ticks, bloodsuckers. It's exactly what they are. So you can follow all of our issues here, of course, on this. I'm going to cover a couple today, but if you have questions, you want to reach out to us on this app. We provide notifications on where we'll be, how we'll be. We'll put videos. This video today will be on there later on, of course, and we want to be accessible and relatable, because if we don't stand together now, we will not stand. Folks, we're at a place in time right now where we, the people, have to be heard. As we just heard, people don't even know when the primary is. I got to tell you, I look back at my own life and I was part of the problem too. Self-admittedly, I would complain about stuff and do nothing. I'd sit on the sideline and talk about what I could have done and what should have been done better. I was the typical Monday morning quarterback. Oh, I'd vote occasionally. Yeah, I'd do that. But did I get involved and know my candidates? No. Sometimes I would just do R, right down the line. Anybody done that before? That's honest, right? Because I wasn't paying attention. I thought R was conservative. I thought R represented. No, R doesn't do that. R is rhino for the most part. It's politicians. We need to vote the politicians out and bring in people that are going to make that R mean representation. That's the way it's got to be. Now, with that said, our current, and I want people to understand this in context, this is not a character assassination or a character criticism. This is an observation of leadership and leadership skills. Our current administration locked you down and told you that you were essential or non-essential. Our current administration will not stop the vaccine mandates. Oh, we talk a good game, all right, but did you know people are still losing their jobs in the state of Oklahoma? How many knew that? How many know that people's threat of losing jobs will hurt their health? How many know that when you don't have a threat of losing jobs because you choose or not choose to put an experimental vaccine in you, when you don't have that, you can live in peace. You can live in freedom. It's your choice. How many want to see an Oklahoma like that, where you have your choice? But no, instead we have to follow the federal government's recommendations. And we have to acquiesce and bow down to the kings. Kind of sounds like calling us peasants, doesn't it? We bowed down and we said, oh yeah, we're going to lock you down too. Folks, I would have never locked you down. I would have never told you that you have to take an experimental jab. It's your choice. I'm all about freedom of information, not suffocating socialistic propaganda-driven media that's controlled by Big Pharma. We need to understand that that's the way it is. My wife and I, we treated now 10,000 plus people that have had COVID or been exposed to COVID and lost zero, praise God. Lost zero. It's not because we're smart. It's because God is not going to allow us to die one day quicker than He says so. Simple principle right there, isn't it? Whatever happened to that? We went from one nation under God to a nation that believes they're superior to God. Folks, we need to return Oklahoma to a state that believes that we are under God's authority and His principles so that we can receive His protection, provision, guidance, and wisdom. I want that, don't you? I want that so badly. We had our First Amendment, the freedom of speech, and the freedom specifically of the ability to assemble peaceably. We had that attacked by our own government. Our own government. They told you you can't assemble. How many knew that that was a clear violation of the First Amendment of the United States of America? We need to understand that and get that internal so that it never, ever happens again. If we would have pushed back, and if we would have known our constitutional rights, we would not be standing here or sitting here today having this discussion. But we didn't. And our founding fathers put those out there on paper so that we could understand that those rights were not given by those men, but they were given by God, and He was quantified on that paper in their Bill of Rights, the first 10 amendments. There's 27 amendments, by the way. We're doing a lot of teaching that we'll have out there on video soon enough so you can know your rights, know your amendments. How many think that's kind of an important teaching to understand? So we'll have those on our app soon so you can see those things out there. I think I've recorded up to about 16 amendments so far. It's good to know them. We need to understand that when we look at what's happening in our state, everybody say 300,000. Oh, you got to get to feel this big number, 300,000. That's how many acres. The Chinese Communist Party, a nation that wants to suck the life out of you, kill you from the inside out, with the idea that they love you and want to work with you. That's how much land is owned in the state of Oklahoma by the Chinese Communist Party under the guise of legal medical marijuana. You go by one of these farms, you know what you see? Big white fence, 6 feet tall, that by law is supposed to be there so that you can't see in. What rocket scientist passed that law? Why wouldn't you want to be able to see in? They can see in your backyard, can't they? Who in their right mind would want to say, let's erect a fence you can't see through? Who would want that? And then they come out to put the trash outside and they're escorting their trash taker out with an AR-15. Does somebody smell a rat with that one? The Chinese Communist Party owns more acreage per capita here in this state than any other state in these United States. How many knew that? Right under our noses. Right here, right now. And this is not just about legalized marijuana. Oh, no. This is distribution across state lines. This is criminal activity. This is weapons trafficking. This is drug trafficking. This is human sex trafficking right here. And on that note, we have an open border. Just come right into Oklahoma from the southern border because we are going to bring in a Mexican consulate into Oklahoma City. How many knew that? Isn't that crazy? We're going to become a sanctuary city soon enough because we're trying to be politically correct. Politically correct, most of the time, is incorrect. We need to have the hard stance to be able to follow the rules that God gave us, the rules that He put inside of us. The heart of God must be heard again in the government of Oklahoma. Folks, we're at a time right now where I look at that problem, talk to many sheriffs, and I've talked to them personally, and I said, hey, what do y'all want to do? And they said, man, we just want to go in there and arrest them all. But we can't. I'm like, why not? I served 24 years on the police department in Tulsa and 10 years on the SWAT team. Got that law enforcement mentality. I'm like, well, let's go get them. But they don't have the support from our administration. As for me, I'd stand on the biggest stage ever and say, follow the rules or get out. Change the legislation. Change the loophole that allowed this to happen in the first place yesterday. I would be standing up there saying, ladies and gentlemen of Oklahoma, challenge your legislatures right now to get a bill put on my desk to tighten that loophole up and get them out of here. I'd be asking for legislation to bring down the white 6-foot fence. That every farm that has those needs to, by law, pull them down. Open up for public view. What do you got to hide? Open it up for the sheriff to go in there and inspect those at will. Just like you go in and inspect a bar. You know what's going to happen? They're going to go in there and they're going to see evidence of a crime. That's called probable cause. And they're going to execute a search warrant. That's going to happen. And you're going to be able to seize that land because it's furtherance of a crime. When you do, this is what's going to happen. You're going to put those people in jail. They're going to bond out with Chinese cash money. They're going to leave the state of Oklahoma. That land eventually will be turned back over to the citizens of Oklahoma and auctioned back off to you. How many want that to happen? That is how you get people out that don't need to be here. Oklahoma values and Oklahoma first policy is where we stand. President Donald Trump brought a very good concept back to our purview, our thoughts, and our discussion pieces. It was called America First. How many believe in that? I want you to understand something. I agree with that. However, you cannot have a view or even a concept of America First until you get a view and a concept of your own backyard. It has to be Oklahoma first. It has to be Kansas first. Arkansas, Missouri, Texas. You see that? And then when you get that, these United States can then see and live out America first. See, we've got it backwards. We've got it so backwards. We have to turn the power back to the people, not the government. We have an administration right now in this state that's trying to make bigger government control you. Point to prove my case. The Oklahoma Turnpike Authority, a privately run business. Do you know they can seize your land? Do you know they're $1.7 billion in debt right now? Do you know they've got other turnpikes planned across this state? You know the purpose of that is to put more tolls on there to take more money from you to pay off past debt. And do you know they don't even have the money to build those roads? They get the money by selling bonds to out-of-state investors. Could that be people from the Chinese Communist Party? Could be. Could be BlackRock, right? Y'all know about that. We need to understand that this is like getting a credit card to pay off a credit card to pay off a credit card and paying less than the minimum due. How many remember turnpikes were, the story was, anyway, we're going to build a turnpike, put a toll on it. When it's paid off, we're going to remove the toll gate. That was a lie. We are in a place now where we take the OTA. Now we're going to combine it with ODOT, the Oklahoma Department of Transportation, and put one person in front of all of it. So we can make government control bigger and accountability less. When you make government bigger, you bring corruption to a bigger point. How many think we the people should have a say-so in whether we want to have our land seized? How many think people that have lived somewhere for 40 years ought to have a vote to say, you know, I don't really want that turnpike to go through my backyard? You see, when I grew up in West Tulsa, I used to hunt and fish in this little area. I'm an outdoor guy. I won't go into the gun issue today. Suffice it to say that the Second Amendment rights, the ability of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. End of story. We don't need to have all these bills. I can't believe we have that but in our state constitution, but that says under these circumstances we can infringe. We need to get that out of there and quit playing the monkey business games that we play. Passing bills with good titles and getting them chopped up before they ever get to the governor's desk. I sat by Wednesday at the Capitol and I listened to some of the session in the Senate. And I will tell you, what I heard in the background and what I heard from the side was like going to a circus, seeing three rings and clowns. Games, children, juvenile behavior. If you don't listen to my bill, you don't vote for it, I'm not going to listen to 5 of yours. And we have one person down there doing that. Pro Tem Greg Treat. I'm telling you right now, and I don't really care what they think. Right is right and wrong is wrong. When you have one person controlling your voice to be heard or not, how can a senator present a bill and you're happy about that because he's representing you, but that person can say, nope, I don't like you, so your voice, your bill is never going to get heard. That's exactly what happens. And it's pathetic. It's juvenile behavior. When we have juvenile behavior with governmental power, we have a problem. And that's exactly what we have right now. We need smaller government and bigger people. The people's voices must be heard, ladies and gentlemen. We have people in our administration right now that are absolute globalists. Do you know health smart cards are coming to Oklahoma? How many is happy about that? They're going to be able to have your health data on a card. so that you can present that and they can determine your vaccination status. They can also determine eventually your behavior. They can also eventually stop your behavior, alter your behavior, change your behavior, and control your behavior. This is where we're going. We need to push back and stop that stuff immediately. Your life's important. When I look at our school system, 47th in the country, 47th, and they're playing games with that right now. Thank God this recent voucher thing didn't go through. Does everybody understand that? I want to explain that to you because it's a shell game. They say, well, we're going to give you a voucher so that voucher will follow you. So, or you, ma'am, you can take that and use that for your children's education. Let's work through this. If the government gives you anything, don't you think eventually they're going to tell you where you can spend that voucher? How many think that maybe a tax credit might be better? When you do that, that stays with you. And that is something that we need to get. We need to be careful and cautious of these bills that are presented with big old titles, but with nothing happening. To that end, there are 300 bills-ish we have on the books that say we're a pro-life state. Wait a minute. How many knew that? 300? How many believe that life's valuable? How many understand this principle? And this is not something I'm making up. This is something I've talked to God about. And I do have a relationship with him. I'm not crazy. If you don't, that's fine. But I like to go to the great physician, the great creator, anytime I want to and ask him a question. I ask him, when does life begin? Jeremiah 1:5. I knew you before you were created in your mama's womb. Jesus was with God in the beginning. How many believe that? If Jesus was with God in the beginning, how can Jesus then become a fetus, a non-living thing, and not become a viable human being until Jesus gets a heartbeat and later becomes a human life through Mary? You see the foolishness of the argument? A Christian individual who truly loves God cannot support anything other than abolition of all abortion. Can't do it. Can't do it. The argument doesn't hold water personally, and this is something each of you can use if you have conflict in your home. Listen carefully. It's about choice. It's about First Amendment choice. If someone says, well, I believe that a woman ought to have her choice. Principle, I do too. I agree with that. But I want the woman to have the choice to destroy another human life. Purpose. No, that's not a choice. That's not your body. That's someone else's. Because we've already established in this room and online that we believe here that life begins in God before it's conceived on earth. How many believe that? Do we have unanimous here for the most part? Okay, now watch this. Every single person that argues for pro-choice is actually an abolitionist. You know why? Because they have an opinion and they want to be heard. If they say they are pro-choice and they are a life that can be executed, if they believe that, then they're saying that their life is up for hostage ransom as well too. So you can come right back and just use some godly wisdom without arguing, and you can show them truth. It is up to God to change the heart of mankind, not up to you and me to argue with people. When you argue with a fool, that's a foolish thing to do. But when you love people with the truth of God, you speak the wisdom of God, you allow God to do his part. Our job is to shine the light in the middle of the darkness. The darkness does not like light. My wife and I, we have had so much hateful things come at us that we stood up and decided to be obedient. Folks, we did not want this job. It was what we had to do. It was a call. It was the propensity and the obedience to just step up and say yes. Yes. To give us the platform to communicate God's love in everybody's lives. And that's all it boiled down to, quite honestly. As I look around the state of Oklahoma, people need to have leadership right now. They want someone to rally the troops, to stand up and go through the door first. In my life as a police officer, I was on the SWAT team for 10 years, and I remember many times part of my job for several of those years was being on the entry team. My job was to carry the shield. I don't know if they gave me the shield because I was a big guy, Terry, or because I was expendable. I don't know which. The bottom line is, I'd grab that shield, and I would look through that glass, carrying the Kevlar shield, going in those doors first. Did fear creep into my life and anxiety? You bet. But did that ever stop me in my tracks where I would become paralyzed in fear? No, because the mission was bigger. The purpose was bigger. The purpose has to be in your heart, man, and you got to decide to go regardless. And I remember days where we were told, and this was true, that if I were to go down, or whoever was carrying the shield would go down, our job would be to go right over the top of them. Step on them if need be, because you got to go forward. We're at a place in time in history where I don't mind going in the door first. My wife and I will step up and go in the door first. This is a package deal. It is. And when we go in the door first, I'm counting on the good people of Oklahoma to get all your guns and go in the door right behind us. Because I'm telling you, the legislature in the first 30 days that I'm in office will put a bill on my desk that says we will ban abortions across the state of Oklahoma. We will criminalize it. We'll make it murder what it is. We'll make it execution what it is. And when we sign that bill, all hell's going to break loose. And I don't care. I will die on that hill because it's the right thing to do. People in our current administration have told me this. Well, we agree with you in principle, Mark. We're running on pro-life. I'll sign every pro-life bill that comes on my desk. And I'm like, what? You just need one. That's it, one. And they'll come back and say, hey, well, you don't understand. The state Supreme Court's going to overturn that. Can everybody together say, I don't care? Because when you have the executive branch and the legislative branch together, the judicial branch ought to be the smallest branch. The legislative branch, the executive branch represents the people. It doesn't matter what the Supreme Court says. It doesn't matter what the Oklahoma Supreme Court says. It is still murder. And if they don't like that, they can get out. We must put judges in there that are going to support the laws of God and honor the Constitution of the United States and not be swayed by political gamesmanship. The best way to get judges out is term limit them by your votes. Know them. Look at their records. Pay attention. Don't just vote retain because you've never heard of them before. Get to know your judges. What have they voted on before? We need to understand that the county sheriffs are the highest law enforcement officers in the county. They really are. Did you know the 10th Amendment? Do you know what that is? That's basically that the states and the people retain the power unless they specifically give it over to the federal government. The federal government was supposed to be small. The federal government did not create the states. The states created the federal government. We don't need to yield and bow down to those clowns any longer. We don't. We need to step up, push back, own our rights, their God-given rights, and tell the federal government on a case-by-case basis, without a shame, without fear, go pound sand. I'm serious. I'm not afraid of them, and nor should you be. Nor should you be. If they send somebody into our state, I will have those sheriffs' backs. because the sheriffs are not going to be agents of federal legislation. That will not happen. We're bringing Sheriff Mack in on May the 7th. How many know Sheriff Mack? Sheriff Mack actually teaches the Constitution to sheriffs. This will be his first opportunity, Terry, to come in and train every sheriff in the state that shows up. And we're going to make sure that happens. You know why? Because I want those sheriffs to be equipped to honor the Constitution they swore to uphold and protect. And when they do, if the feds come in here and try to do something, we can arrest them. We can. They have no jurisdiction here. We need to, as I wrap up my talk for a little Q&A, we need to understand that Oklahoma must become energy independent. We need to become agriculturally independent. We need to become economically independent. We need to bring God's blessing back to this state. And the only way to do that is to embrace, understand, and walk in the victory of His rights He gave us. The Constitution of the United States of America and these United States, the whole principles of our governmental system was founded on and created by God, on His principles. Do we all agree for that? Then all we have to do is literally trust Him. Trust Him. People have asked us a lot of times, are you scared to take that first step? No, not. Do I know what the second steps are every single time? No. But folks, if we know the right place to go and the right step to go in that direction, God help us if we're afraid to go in the right direction with the first step. Has anybody heard of Abraham? Was he given the full recipe of directions? Pastor Jack, was he given the full recipe of directions? He was like, go that way. Okay. Where am I going? Don't know, but I got to take that first step in the right direction. We have to trust God to give us the second and third steps if need be. Politicians are famous for not going anywhere if they don't have all the steps. Folks, that's not faith at all. That's mankind's best wisdom. How many believe that we need to remove all politicians and bring in statesmen and people that love God? How many believe that? We need to do that. Folks, I stand before you today, and I'm asking you to stand with all of us people, all of us on June 28th. We've got to stand up. We've got to vote. Do you know on June 28th that if we will just carpool and get people there, go right now and find people that are not even registered and get them to register. You don't vote for, I get it's the party system. Vote for the people that represent the people best. That's what you should vote for. George Washington did not even want the party system. He cautions against it, but it happened anyway. We're here now. And the party system, the political system is ruining America. It is ruining Oklahoma. It's ruining our lives. I promise you today that when I get in there, it will not be me in there. It will be we in there. I will still come out and have meetings with people. Pastor Jack, I'd like to come back after election if that's okay. Because we need to get back and get involved in people's lives again. The only way I know how to do it is to break the mold. What we've been doing for the last 50 years does not work. Einstein said it best. You keep doing the same things over and over again, expecting different result. That is the definition of what? Insanity, that's right. So we need to do things differently. The only way I know as your next governor to represent you the best is to get involved in the community, come out, talk to you, and most importantly, use my 2 ears appropriately. Twice as much as I speak. That's why God gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth. We need to listen more. Politicians only have one thing to do, talk. Do they listen? No. I stood at the Capitol Wednesday and had probably 500 or 600 people out there just asking for help. You know how many legislatures I saw? Maybe 5. They're too busy. They're in meetings. Greatest meeting I can think to have is with people because we pay their salary. And on that note, one more thing. Our tax money should never be used to bribe and bait businesses to come here to Oklahoma. What a stupid thing to do. Let's pay $15 million to a company called Canoe to come here that has never shown a profit. Bring them here, give them a tax break, and give them a $300 million package because it's cool. Where are they getting their material to build those batteries for those electric cars? Anybody know? Thank you. China, right, the material. Can we get it through our crazy heads to not do business with communist countries or communist businesses anymore? Can we do that? We need to understand. America made communism. You know why? Because we made a deal with the devil. We can create an Oklahoma that's free. Florida has 3,000 people a day moving there. How many think Governor DeSantis has done a pretty good job? We like that. The man has shown courage. He obviously understands the 10th Amendment. He has pushed back. We will win. When we create a free state called Oklahoma, you will not, I will not, we will not have to buy businesses to come here anymore. They will line up at the borders and they will ask permission. And guess who will give them permission? We, the people. If you don't like them coming in and I don't like them coming in and they don't meet Oklahoma's standards of ethics, morals, and the culture, go to California. We need to stand together. Folks, please download the app. And Joshua's got a great t-shirt on back there. It said, can you read that for everyone? It's pretty cool. When tyranny becomes law, rebellion becomes duty. We don't have a choice. Tyranny is and has been becoming law. So you can get a t-shirt if you want to, $25 donation or more. You can also get hooked up with some signage back there. June 28th is the date. If you have any desire in your heart, if God's told you to give into campaigns, you give. Not one dime more or one dime less in all of the Oklahoma First candidates. You do that. Get to know them. Use the app as a tool to vet your own candidates, right? So if they're not answering these questions right here that you see, find somebody else to vote for. If they're afraid to answer questions and don't give you a straight answer, they're not going to give you a straight answer and they're not going to represent you in a straight way when they get in office. It's not going to happen. It's not. So give accordingly. But I want to ask everybody here specifically, and I'm going to turn it over to Terry, and he's going to operate some Q&A with us all. So get your questions ready. That's important. Understand that we need your prayers. I mean it from all my heart. My wife and I are giving up part of our life to do this, and that's not saying, woe, pity party for us. That's not the point. The point is, God called us to make this sacrifice to do that, but I'll tell you, it's not a sacrifice at all. It's an honor to represent the people. It's an honor to honor God. It's an honor to protect the Constitution. It's an honor to represent your voices. So on June 28th, get out and vote. Between now and then, pray. Get involved. Share the app with everybody you know, because that's the way you share information. Folks, I love you very much, and thank you for your time today. And now I'll turn it over to Terry for some Q&A.
Okay. Now, you veterans know how it works. Let me just cover it real quick for the people that are new here. Q&A at my meetings. You raise your hand. I call on you in the order the hands are raised as best as I'm able. Don't get mad if I get it one or two out of spot. But I'll do the best I can. Please, if you're able, when I call on you, stand and speak up so everyone can hear. And most importantly, get right to your question. If you want to make a speech, come talk to me afterwards. And if it's something I think that would benefit the group, I'll put you on the calendar for the next meeting. But we go to questions, and then you get one question If you have a follow-up, raise your hand again. I'll come back to you for a follow-up. What's important to me at my meetings is that everybody that has a question gets a chance to answer it. If you let the first person who stands up make a 10-minute speech about what they saw on CNN last night and why they're asking a question, it's not fair to the people at the back of the line. Okay? Hands up. Joe.
I have to admit I'm guilty. I haven't done any research on our current governor, you. So with that said, here in front of voice people, what sets you apart? What differentiates you from our current governor? What's going to make us want to vote for you? I'd like to hear it in your own words live here.
Great. Thank you for your question, Joe. So what separates me from our current governor, Kevin Stitt, is this, is I am about the people. I understand the Constitution. I will represent the people. I will not be big business first, people second. I've given you numerous examples today of what is happening, and I've given you my assurances that I would have done it different and will do it different. I will stand up for you vocally. I will not push things downhill and say, I'm going to wait on my attorney general to do something. I will step up and say, this is what the people want. For example, on the issue of abortion, we'll just go right to the hottest topic of the day. I'll stand up there from the loudest platform and I'll say, 29. That's how many people we've lost today. The next day, 58. How many people need to be executed in Oklahoma? I'll do that publicly. And you as the people, because you want that, will also create a public outcry. And governors today don't do that. But I will, as an example. And when we do that, the legislature will follow your directions because you and I voted them in, right? You hold them accountable. We'll have 2A, the Liberty Group, the True Liberty Group all over this. They'll be sending out text messages. Call your legislature. Email them right now. You won't have to call me. I got it. I'm good. You'll have a governor that will step up for the people, will not compromise for big business, will not bow down and kowtow to the big name people. I will not take PAC money. I will not be influenced by lobbyists. I will not be bought by anyone. Right is right. Wrong is wrong. And that's what you can count on as your next governor from me.
I'm all for school. The liquor by the drinkers for the kids and every one of these bills, gambling for the kids and everything. And every time it passes, they take the money that was for the kids and bring this money in, and they don't ever get anything. We're 47, like you said. And I'm for open schools where they can learn. But gotta get our public schools up.
We do. And so I appreciate your point. What's happening now is a couple of things. There's zero accountability with that money. Okay, I don't think that's kosher at all. I want to know where it goes. You want to know where it goes. I am the type of guy that will ask the question, where's the money? And I will do that publicly and demand audits. I want to know where it is. Now, with that said, to the point of public schools, you're right. Public schools have declined so much, we're putting out an output of students that can't even read and write anymore. They can't communicate. Last I checked, public schools are supposed to be about teaching men and women how to become good men and women, how to become good contributors to society, how to become good husbands, good fathers, good wives, good women. It's important. We're not doing that anymore. We're teaching things like CRT and SEL and all kinds of nonsense, 47 pronouns and having a gender-neutral bathroom. That cannot happen. This is what I see as a solution. When we get accountability on money and create the free education system where students can go back and forth, if parent A wants to take their students over here to Christian schools and they have a tax credit to do that, right? It's going to create competition because what's going to happen, people are going to gravitate to the schools that produce the best outcome. And that competition is going to breed excellence. Right now, there's no competition. And the public schools are so latched into the federal government pushing money to them, they just do what they say. And so we need to change all of that. And I believe that creating an opportunity for teachers administrators and students to have an open education system like I'm talking about, like we all agree. When we do that, it's going to force the public schools to make decisions. And I'm for one of the public schools that are taking money from the federal government, disobeying the laws of the land, so you can't teach SEL, CRT, or whatever name it is. We need to pull away their state funding immediately. And that will give us an opportunity to create that wonderful competitive environment once again to create better students.
In the corner back there.
One thing that case has a problem is I want to make it Oklahoma as top. Oklahoma Broadway taught to the state.
When I hear the top 10 state phrase, I laugh inside, honestly, because I think top 10 compared to what? When I look at this is like, I'll use an example in medicine, for example. We run laboratory analyses, blood work, right? When you run blood work, how many in this room have been told you're in the normal range? Do you understand that the blood work averages are taken from a sick community? Our health in Oklahoma is 48th. 48th? Is that not pitiful? We'll be talking about health from that platform, of course. But when you look at the normal idea of lab markers, a top 10 state is say, well, you're normally top 10 dead person. We need to create not just top 10 within the current box. We need to create a brand new box of one that says Oklahoma is number one compared to nothing. We got to honor this compared to nothing. We need to be our best in every area, regardless of what any other state does, certainly regardless of what the federal government tells you to do or any standards. We know as Oklahomans what's best, right? Do we as people trust what's inside of us and know what's best for us? Yes. So we need to believe that, live that, have that vision. That number one to us is not in this normal range. Number one to us is number one compared to what God can do through this state. Good question.
Right here.
Leader is only as good as the people that follow. You're getting your followers. How do you determine which one you want to do?
Great question. I don't know if everybody heard that. A leader is only as good as his following. And where do you get your followers and what determines that? To put this into perspective, I agree with what you said, sir, 1,000%. Who you allow to be around you will affect you. The 5 people that hang around you the most, you'll become just like them. My wife and I, as I told you, have been fighting medical tyranny. When we go into a room, this is how we pick this. And I'm using this as a funny example. You guys will get this. We eat healthy. We exercise. We stay off of media. I don't hang out with people that suck the life out of me. Don't like that. Wears me out, man. I'm not a hanger-outer guy. You know, we go on the road, we talk. I'll talk to people. I'll love on you all today until we go. But when I'm done, I'm done. I'm going to sit in the car with my wife and spend time with her. And I enjoy that. She's my best buddy. In this political campaign arena, and even in our current business, when we show up in a room on some of our talks and things, maybe in the green room where people have some food, they'll start covering for food, you know, like, oh my gosh, the Sherwoods are here, you know. Free story. That doesn't bother me. I mean, the team back there has been on the road with me. I don't care. We have been people that have and will remain comfortable in our own skin. I don't need people around me that I feel like are super important. This is what I see in our current administration. We want to link up with people that are important to kind of share the recognition or the name. Nonsense. The only person I answer to first and foremost is God. Second behind that is my wife. And so the people that are around us are determined by great discernment. And that's the best word I can use. Is this person or are these people that are going to lift us up or tear us down? Are they people that we can spend time with and get to know over time? I don't really care if someone with a name walked in this room right now. They're not going to interrupt the meeting because you are the most important in the conversation. And that's how I feel about people being around us. We pick them wisely and with great care and much prayer. When I was seeking out the idea of whether to run for governor or not, I sought out many consultants. I'll give you a real life example. Every single consultant Every single one asked me, they didn't care what we stood for. Y'all need to know that. They don't care. The question they asked me is, how much money do you have? True story. The first one, I was pretty polite. Said, none of your business. It's the right answer, isn't it? Right? The second one was like, well, you're pretty smart, yes. Okay, I want you to count the steps it takes you to get out of my office. I don't need these people. Politics are dirty. It is important that the accountability that I have and we have in life is us. And that's why I said to you, I'm not going to get into that place and be influenced by a few people that sort of drive the bus. Current administration doesn't talk to you anymore. We all know that. And that's a sad, sad thing. I don't know where our current governor, our current administration gets their advice, but I don't like it. Do you like it? No, it's going the wrong direction. So rest assured that I'm not going to allow that to happen. And please understand that I need your prayer in that. I do. I don't want to get steered wrong. Man, look, I'm susceptible, just like any other person is, to any kind of nonsense. I'm susceptible to money, fame, and power. Let's be honest about it. People like to be appreciated. So please pray for me that I'll have good discernment, and that if you or anybody else in this room sees me act like a fool, you have permission to come up to me and say, Mark, you're acting like a fool. I'm serious, because I have to answer to the people that I'm asking for a job, right?
Kevin.
He says our governor, our state, not have.
Yep. So I hope everybody catches this. When a company takes Medicare reimbursement, the Supreme Court basically punted on that thing, and they said, yeah, this, as long as the government pays you, you're kind of on the hook to do what they ask you to do. And I honor you, first of all, for being in healthcare, right? Thank you for that, right? So here's what I propose. And this is me again. I want to have the idea that any business that operates in the state of Oklahoma that requires the vaccine as a condition of employment will be fine. And they can pay that fine. And I'll talk to the CEOs myself, and I'll say, push back. If you want to operate in these borders, the CEOs at these hospitals, they can absolutely say no. You know why they can say no? Because when they say no, and remember, federal government was using OSHA as kind of a tool. Remember that? OSHA comes in here, and this hospital system or whatever operates in Woodward County, let's say, right? Let's just use that example. They're there. OSHA comes in. The sheriff comes in and says, nope, sorry, you have no jurisdiction here. And we hold the line. Now, if the federal government comes in and says, well, nanny, nanny, boo-boo, we're going to take your money from you, because they will threaten that. Number one, I don't think they have the courage to do that. I do not think they have the backbone to do that. Because when we push back, other governors from other states that sort of believe like this will do the same thing. So they're going to get overwhelmed. If they push back and if they take the money away, how many believe that we as Oklahoma could stop paying money to the federal government? Long and short of it is, we believe strongly that you should have a choice. And I love the patient advocate idea too. That bill needs to pass. You should have the choice of whether you have a vaccine or not. And we believe the businesses, like the governor says, well, let's leave it to the businesses. I leave it to the people. It's a difference in mentality. It's a big difference. Because if we leave it to the businesses can do anything they want. And if you keep doing that, there's more over-encroachment of big business into people's lives, taking away your very freedoms. Because I still believe that it's a constitutional right to pick what kind of thing you want to put in your body or not. Okay. Good question. Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, my name is sure you haven't set locking down Oklahoma in 2020, wearing masks. If he has clothes that will wear masks. Also, him getting shots for his clothing when getting the COVID-19, big part of the shot. And also him getting away from hard. What are your opinion of those things?
Thank you for your question, Joe. I understand. I don't know the man, so just understand that I believe that he has said that he is doesn't vaccinate his children, for example, right? Whether you do or don't, it's a great photo op to stick a needle in your arm on camera, right? When I saw those mandates put down, those lockdowns being administered, I got to tell you, it hurt my heart, Joe. It hurt my heart because I knew it was wrong. First of all, it's based in fear. When we act and base anything based in fear, we react, and we typically make bad decisions. I would have never locked us down. Not at all. I would have never said we're going to take vaccines as a condition of employment, education, or even the right to go have medical treatment. It's got completely out of hand. And when I saw that, I looked at the campaign donations, and I saw Pfizer. I saw hospitals contributing to that man's campaign. Then I began to understand the dirty little rule about politics, that you can be bought, you can be swayed because of the almighty dollar. And last I checked, the Bible says you can't serve two masters. You're going to love one and love the other, but you can't serve both God and money. When I look at it, Joe, I was deeply saddened, and I will tell you, I got a little bit angry. I was like, Jesus wanted to turn over some tables at that point in time. It's not cool anymore. I thought it was a bad decision, still think it's a bad decision. And now that we look back on the history of all this, we realize that a lot of it was erroneous. It was driven by a bigger agenda than even us in Oklahoma. Agenda of power, control, and domination in a globalist point of view, probably, most likely, to suppress the population of the earth growing, because there are people out there that don't believe that the earth can sustain X number of people.
Bill Gates.
Thank you. Bill Gates. If you guys want to look up something very interesting, look up Yuval Noah Harari. Juval, Noah, common spelling, Harari, Herrari. He is the advisor for Klaus Schwab. He's the advisor for Bill Gates. He is, and I'll publicly say, he is the false prophet. He says that humans are hackable. That is their agenda. Through the mRNA, they believe that's an end to hack our code. And they believe that you can hack human beings, and human beings then can be controlled. And they'll say, you can look up any of his videos, and he's not hiding it anymore. This is the agenda. He'll say, we're going to hack human beings, we're going to control what they do, and we know humans better than humans know humans. Yuval Noah Harari. Make sure you look that up and certainly do some research, because that's the kind of stuff we're doing. The Health Smart card's coming. That's a lead into this, to a currency that's not dollars. They're breaking the bank with that. Everybody knows that, right? Can't keep printing money, right? Debt. How many think that debt's like really cool? No, debt's bad. How many believe we need to eliminate debt? Yeah, we need to eliminate debt in Oklahoma for sure, but we need to eliminate debt in our own lives first. And so, great question. I did not like the response at all. It was like a political gamesmanship thing for me. You're welcome.
Okay. Yeah.
I have learned more in this session about what's going on in our administration in Oklahoma than I've ever been able to read or hear know the real gut of it. My question to you, including the question and answer, because there have been some great questions, I would ask if you would be willing to share the video of this meeting with everybody. They could share with all of their friends.
Yes, absolutely. So everybody heard that. The video that we have today will be posted on Mark Sherwood for Governor, the Facebook page. So you want to go there, and there's a couple things you can do. Honestly, you can like that page and that video. You can share it on your own pages. And the best way I know how to get information out is through word of mouth. Because does anybody believe the media right now? Just a quick example to prove the point. We were down at the Capitol on Wednesday, and I was talking about, there was TV cameras lined up there, and Hannah was there, and Leah was there, and Isaac was there. And I made the comment to someone standing next to me and said, I bet you won't see this on TV. Nope. Nothing. The media is not going to share any video clips, anything about information like this at all. So again, go to Mark Sherwood for Governor homepage on the Facebook. The video will be posted, Isaac, when probably? Is it there now? Okay, it's there now because it was live. So you can go there and share it. Comment on it. You know, a lot of people you guys know us now as people. So a lot of people have, they make judgment calls and all that. You can't fix that, but just what you know, communicate what you know, and you can't help people that don't know anything. Just sometimes you just got to love them from a distance.
Time for one more question. It's going to be Joe.
Catch you later.
A few minutes ago, you said the word execute, which made me start thinking, church life.
Yeah.
What's your feeling on punishment and how do you? I struggle. With how do you justify it? So, how does that affect you? How do you struggle with that? And for or against or?
Yeah, Joe, the question is about capital punishment in general. I mean, I come at it from a unique perspective. I served my community in Tulsa for 24 years. I saw people killed right in front of me. It's hard. Hard. You see things that no man, no woman ought to see. I saw people blow their brains out right in front of my eyes. Saw people kill other people in front of my eyes, and it was hard. It is hard to see life end. I struggle with that, I do, because you're like, as a believer, and I fully understand this. Being in the office of governor, you have that pen in your hand, and we have the death sentence as an option, which I support. I do, because I believe that, there are situations where an eye for an eye, a life for a life should be appropriate. But I do struggle with that as a human being, as a Christian. And this is my heart, so please don't think I've lost my ever-loving mind, okay? This is me. And I could see myself doing this. I've never had the opportunity, but I can certainly, if there's a person, John Smith, who's sitting on death row and he's set to be executed in 2 days, I might get in the car and drive down, have somebody drive me and sit in front of him and share Jesus. I would do that, because the most important thing for me is when life ends, whatever that is, that people know the Lord. And I use the idea of Jesus when he was on the cross. This is how I wrap my heart around it. Jesus is there with two thieves on both sides. And when they said to him, "We are here because we deserve to be here," he didn't refute that. He didn't. He could have. He could have said, no, it's not cool. He understood that. But he understood something much bigger. One was saying, "We don't believe who you are." And then was said, "We believe who you are." And the guy that says, "I believe who you are," Jesus looked right and said, "Today you'll be with me in paradise." So he did not take away the sentence of death, but he gave them, get this, an eternal sentence of life. And Joe, that's the thing I deal with most, honestly. And it's a challenge. I know that the Julius Jones situation, I looked at that. And as an investigator, I would add this point too. I know how to look at a case. I know how to look at evidence. I know how to look at prosecutors and law enforcement officers and conduct and defense. And I have a unique background that look at those cases. I will read those cases. If something's screwed up and wrong, we need to fix it. But if it's a case that is righteous and somebody is going to pay for that with their life, I'm going to do everything I can to make sure that person knows the Lord before they go to meet him.
Good answer.
Yeah.
All right, folks, let's give him a big hand. Cheers. Yeah. Okay, couple of more things. You can sit back down for just a couple of more minutes. Scott, stand up. Stand up. No, that's me. That's my line. This is Scott Jessen. He was gracious enough to fill in for me in January after I had my surgery. He's one of our coordinators in Garfield County. That's Enid. I just wanted to recognize you. Folks, you need to be doers, not talkers. Bring people to the meetings. Now, my Tuesday meeting in April is April 12th, 6 p.m. at Mary's Grill in Tonkawa. I have our Attorney General, John O'Connor, who is a home run. We need to keep this guy in office. He will be speaking in Tonkawa at Mary's Grill, 6 p.m. on April 12th. Next month here is our superstar, Senator Nathan Dahm. Put us on your calendars, folks. The best way to remember the meetings, 4th Saturday, 12 noon, 2nd Tuesday, 6 p.m. Put it on your calendar. I understand you can't make every meeting. Some people do, but most people can't. But it will at least remind you that there is a meeting. And tell your friends. Now, I'm going to turn over to Brian Hobbs. Has anybody in here heard of Sean Roberts? Okay. Brian wants to talk about Sean a little bit. Brian are you campaign manager?
I'm just helping. I'm just a friend. We'll just call it that. Sean's running for Congress against Frank Lucas. And part of our, let me give you guys one of these before you head out the door here, partner. Yeah. These are tickets I'm going to pass out to you guys. For $25, you can get entered into a drawing for one of 4 AR-15s. And if you can get 5 tickets for $100, and if you donate $200, you can be entered in 10 times for AR and 1 time for a 50 cal. So anyway, that's just something. Yeah, something. If you don't know Sean already, which most of you probably do because he's been here, he was one of the principal authors of Constitutional Carry and many other, basically everything that OK2A's carried. And Don Spencer will tell you that. He's been endorsed by Don Spencer of OK2A, our president. And anyway, so he's a great conservative, and he will provide a lot of great leadership in Washington, and we need to send him there. So if you find it in your heart, I'm going to pass these out to you. You can put your phone on these. This is called a QR code. If you got a cell phone, you just shine your camera over that, and it'll pull up the website. This little deal here. Or you can go to SeanRobertsForCongress.com. It'll be on the website as well. So I don't want to keep you here any longer. I'm sure people want to talk to Mark Sherwood. So anyway, thank you.
Thanks, everybody, for coming. Sir, Art, you hang around and schmooze a little bit. We're going to schmooze inside for a short time, and then we're going to move it into the beautiful weather in the parking lot so Stephen can go ride his beautiful black trike today rather than sit around and watch us schmooze. Thanks for coming, folks. Next month, Tuesday the 12th at Mary's.